Well. Welcome to the first broadcast in February here. This is the Renegade, Dan Bailey. I'm joined with my co-host, uh, the Rambler, Jeff Johnson. And how was your last 2 weeks, Jeff? Because apparently I was sick for most of that.
Oh, not too bad. Been kind of busy at work. Been a little bit on edge at work. Things are, it's always the way it is in prison. So, no, not too bad otherwise.
I was going to say, I'd always be on edge if I had your job.
Yeah, it has its moments. Some days are better than others. So how you feeling? You over your cold?
No, I'm about 95%. Just trying to stay away from the stomach bug that seems to be going around this area. Luckily, I have avoided that one so far.
Well, that's good. Yeah, fortunately, no one's been really sick up here. We've been doing pretty well. So what are we going to do here? Are we going to start right out with our rants and rambles tonight, or what are we going to do?
Oh, yeah. Why don't you go ahead, do your ramble, and then I'll come. We'll probably hit a break, and then I'll do my rant.
Okay. All right. Well, the reason I asked is how can I start my ramble on Super Bowl night after that game? I mean, come on, Daniel. I think we might have saw a little bit of history tonight. What? Don't you agree?
Well, it was the first time it went to overtime, and it was the first time a team came back from 21-point deficit. So it was an amazing game, but it would have been better if the Packers and Steelers were playing and not the Patriots and Falcons. But I'm biased, so.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm not a big Pat fan, so don't hate me for it. But quite honestly, I don't know how we can't. I mean, Brady's going to go down as one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks, and Belichick is going to go down as probably the best coach of all time. I mean, good grief! Now this is what, number 5 they've won. They've been in 8. So half of his career he's been in Super Bowls, and this is 5th win. I think he's the only quarterback to have 5 wins.
Yeah, I think so, because I think Bradshaw only got 4.
Yep, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, my guys, he beat out my guys. So because I'm a Steeler fan, but so I just thought we had to start it out there. We couldn't possibly go right into rants and rambles after that. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, look, that touchdown right at the end of the game and the 2-point conversion. I mean, that was epic. I mean, what can you say?
Well, I can say a lot of things, but none of them are probably fit to be aired.
All right. So I'll get right into my ramble then. But I just couldn't let it go by the Super Bowl and all that history that was made tonight and not at least say something about it. Now, I didn't watch the whole game. Truth be told, I watched just the end of the game. I couldn't care less. Really couldn't care less about the intermission or the halftime show and all that other stuff. Really couldn't care less about the commercials, though I heard there were some good commercials.
I thought they were all kind of stupid personally, but.
Well, I saw one of them in advance. It was a Dodge one, and they brought back an old what was his name? The commentator that Paul Harvey. They brought back a Paul Harvey piece, and man, I thought it was a really nice commercial. I mean, out of all the commercials that there are today, most of them are just raunchy and crappy. At least with Paul Harvey, it was a kind of a cool commercial. I hope they played it. I know they were playing it on the internet prior to the football game, so I don't know if it was actually played during the game. It was a Dodge Ram one about farmers. The game.
I think they did. I kind of tuned out most of the commercials. So
yeah, that was really a nice one. It's really rare that you get good commercials anymore. I know we're going a little bit off the script tonight, not doing the rants and rambles, but I think it's just kind of nice to kind of talk a little bit about this stuff. So why don't I just get into my ramble? I don't have a real long one tonight. it's kind of timely with what's going on. My ramble tonight is called Meet Old Trump and the Refugees. There has been a growing hysteria over the executive order by President Trump concerning refugees. Senator Chuck Schumer, my senator, thank goodness. Senator Chuck Schumer said, "Tears are running down the cheeks of the Statue of Liberty tonight as the grand tradition of America, welcoming immigrants that has existed since America was founded, has been stomped upon." CNN went on to say, with just a few quick strokes of the pen, President Donald Trump on Friday banned, temporarily for now, roughly 218 million people from entering the United States.
Didn't Obama do
goodness. That? No.
I swore I just heard on the radio that Obama had done the exact same thing. But proceed. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just interjected here.
Oh my goodness. No, not 218 million people. How can Trump be so mean? I guess CNN thinks that we're responsible to allow all 7.4 billion people on the planet into these United States. It's only the fair thing to do. Then who can forget the SAG Awards? There was a long line of celebrities that trotted out on stage to cry Trump as a terrible human being for not allowing those refugees into the United States. What was all this hysteria about? Well, let's take a look. So, what did the executive order actually say and do? The executive order is titled Protecting the Nation from Foreign Terrorist Entry into the United States. Section 3 of that executive order says, suspension of issuance of visas and other immigration benefits to the nationals of countries of particular concern. There have been media and ruling elites calling the ban on Muslims illegal. Well, let's look at the pertinent U.S. Code. 8 U.S. Code, Section 1182. Inadmissible alien suspension of entry or imposition of restrictions by President let's see here. By the president. Okay. Whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate. Whenever the Attorney General finds that a commercial airline has failed to comply with regulations of the Attorney General relating to the requirements of airlines for the detection of fraudulent documents used by passengers traveling to the United States, including the training of personnel in such detection, the Attorney General may suspend the entry of some or all aliens transported to the United States by such airline. President Trump is executing U.S. Code. It is what the chief executive is supposed to do. He did not just make up his own law to enforce. He is enforcing the law that the legislature enacted. The Constitution, Article 2, Section 3 states, he, the president, shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. If President Trump is merely executing the laws passed by the legislature in pursuance of the Constitution, how can those actions be unconstitutional? We just finished 8 years under President Obama. During that time, there were many that were upset when he ignored properly enacted laws. President Obama chose not to faithfully execute properly enacted immigration law. Now, there is anger because President Trump is enforcing the properly enacted immigration law. Well, which is it? Enforce or disregard the law? The course of action that is truly constitutional is the one that faithfully executes the law. There are many that are claiming that President Trump is denying these refugees their constitutional rights with this executive order. Rand Paul said in an interview to Andrew Wilkow, so if you want to be an immigrant into our country, the Constitution doesn't apply to you. We have every right to make any immigration law we want. The claim of constitutional rights is a false one. The immigrants seeking entry in the United States is not under our Constitution. They have no claim to its protection. This argument is so arrogant and is the extreme of our American exceptionalism. We are, in fact, imposing our Constitution on 7.4 billion inhabitants on this planet. This argument is so completely ridiculous unless we're now the United States of the world. The countries that are in the order are countries that do not have functioning governments. The governments there are not able to ensure that the persons on the visa is indeed the person they say they are and that they are a citizen of that country. Whether it is blowback, as Dr. Ron Paul called it, or a desire by radical Islamists, there are people in the world that would like to come to this union, and do us harm. If these countries will sell visas to whoever will give them the right amount, the general government is doing its due diligence to protect the citizens of the states by keeping them out. It is President Trump's duty to execute the immigration laws to the benefit of the people of the states. In spite of all the hysteria, Trump is not being a big meanie. He's doing precisely what we hired him to do, faithfully execute the laws. And we should expect no less. That's my ramble for February 5th, 2017. You can read it at blatheringrambler.wordpress.com.
That was quite interesting. Do you want to play the Nigel Farage clip here where he's talking about that, since we're on that subject?
We could do that in a second here. They're listening to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where renegade thinking is always outside the box. Sure, well, we'll jump right into it. It's about 4 minutes long. Folks, if you haven't listened to this, you can look it up on YouTube. Nigel Farage is at the EU Parliament, I believe in Brussels. Play it, Daniel. It's incredible. He's a rock star. I'm not getting any audio there, Daniel.
Hold on. Apparently we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. This is what happens when people mess with my radio equipment.
I'd say let's go to a break, but I mean, the breaks are recorded too and have to play. So anyway, I'll go back to my thing here. It's really interesting that this executive order that Trump posted is basically, if you read the entire executive order, and then you go to the U.S. Code, Title 8, it's almost word for word Title 8. Because I read the title section, and if you go to the executive order, that Section 3 in the executive order is basically, he just put in that Title 8 code, 1182. So what the Constitution says, he's supposed to be enforcing our laws. So when Congress passes a legislation, it goes to the executive, he signs it, and then he has the duty to enforce it. And what we had for the last 8 years was we had a president just blatantly disregarded law and did whatever he wanted. He had a pen and he had a phone, so he just did what he wanted, and he wrote his own laws or just ignored laws he didn't like. It was just incredible. So this whole thing with Trump is just more of this stuff where they wanted to have more people, these Muslims, come in, and they're not coming here to be our friends. I don't care what people say, even the moderate ones. They're supposed to lie to us and tell us they like us when they don't. So do you have that audio up there yet, Daniel, or am I going to keep rambling?
So, are you getting any of this?
No audio.
I'm playing it on the same channel. Apparently, Hangouts is not cooperating tonight. It's not recognizing my deck or anything.
All right. So, again, folks, you're listening to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where Renegade thinking is always outside the box. I don't know, Daniel, do you want to just jump right into your rant and we can go from there?
Hold on. We're going to try one other thing here and see if I can't make this work. But the audio is not going to be as good due to, obviously, technical difficulties.
No doubt that the events in the USA over the last few weeks have been a very profound shock to you. Perhaps you're right. You see, what has happened here is somebody has stood on a manifesto for election, got into office, and within 1 week said that he will hold faith with his own electorate. It is called genuine democracy. Unlike the system we have in the European Union, where the unelected commissioners like Mogherini here have the sole right to propose legislation. So I'm sure that it's a great shock to you to see that a genuinely elected Democrat is doing what he was put in to do. And it must be, I would think today in Washington. Sorry. I can't hear you, mate.
Di questo Parlamento e delle funzioni istituzionali dei commissari. Questo lo dobbiamo non solo per il rispetto istituzionale alla Commissione, ma anche alla benevolenza della commissaria vicepresidente e alto rappresentante onorevole Mogherini. La ringrazio.
Out of institutional respect, President, to the truth, perhaps you will understand and agree with me that within the European form of lawmaking, it is the unelected Commission that have the sole right to propose legislation. If I'm wrong in saying that, you can throw me out of this Parliament right here, right now, this afternoon.
Onorevole Farage, io la richiamo soltanto a un atteggiamento rispettoso.
I'm just asking you to be a little bit more respectful. Please.
Prego, può continuare.
You may continue.
Oh, I'll be respectful, all right, but perhaps you will be too, for the right of the leader of a political party that won the European elections in the United Kingdom in 2014.
All right, Daniel, if we just hit the pause there. So, folks, it was a little bit hard to hear that, but Farage is chiding these guys because they're all throwing a hissy fit because Trump is a meanie. He's keeping the refugees out. That's what this is all about. That's what started all this. But what was really, really cool is this guy's a rock star. Why don't we have a Farage in our House or in our Senate that going in there and just blowing the whole thing up? This Morganini guy is a commissioner, and he's the Italian voice you heard. He got a little upset because he thought that Farage wasn't showing him enough respect. I mean, he's a ruling elite. He's not even elected elite. He's a ruling elite. These unelected commissioners are the only people that have the sole ability. I don't know if you caught that, the sole ability to propose legislation. So, wow, I thought we had it bad here. Holy cow. They have guys that aren't even elected, and they're the only ones that can propose legislation. I mean, good grief. It's incredible. What did you think of that whole thing? That exchange is kind of incredible. What do you think there, Daniel?
Yeah, it's way, way to the point where the EU needed to break up. But I was never a fan of the EU to begin with. They just took too much power away from the sovereign countries. Sort of like why we need to break up over here. The states are no longer sovereign because the federal government just oversteps their bounds all the time.
Well, it's really kind of cool because you think about it. It's Brussels is there, Washington, D.C., and their countries, are they states? Wow, that's mind-blowing.
Well, we're up
against states. The same thing here. Our states are our countries, and we have a central government in Washington, D.C. that is supposedly a federal government that's a union of the 50 countries. Go ahead, Daniel. I interrupted you there.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're up against the break. I'll bring it back with the Nigel Farage. I'm going to try and get this to play. The audio is going to be kind of distorted because we are not firing on all cylinders tonight, but we'll make it work. So stand by.
I'll take you home again, Kathleen, across the ocean wild and wide, to where your heart has ever been. Since first you were my blushing bride, the roses all that left your cheek, I watched them fade away. Lord, you don't step aside, we'll tear you apart.
You die first, get it? Your friends might get me in a rush, but not before I make your head into a canoe. You understand me?
He's bluffing, let's rush him. No, he ain't bluffing.
You're not as stupid as you look,
And you, music lover, you're next. Drunk piano player. You're so drunk you can't hit nothing. In fact, you're probably seeing double. I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
The national government have you seeing double? Renegade Ramblers Radio has 2 guns. The hosts of the show, Daniel Bailey and Jeff Johnson, one for each of them. Renegade thinking is always outside of the box.
Well, welcome back to Renegade Ramblers Radio. Jeff, well, I'll go ahead and boot up that last part of Farage. Just talk for a minute while I pull it up.
All right. Well, as I was saying, they have their system is even worse than ours. We are very similar because we have 50 states. I don't know how many countries are in the EU, but it's the same thing. And I mean, we have Great Britain voted to leave the EU. Hopefully, they'll have other countries, states decide to leave, and hopefully, I don't know if you've really noticed that California. There's a lot of stuff moving forward in California on their move to leave the union. So hopefully that'll spur Texas and maybe like Oklahoma to start their move to exit. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm hopeful.
Actually, on with that, I'm hoping that Oregon and California secede, and then that New York gets to fly up its rear end, and it goes and takes the entire Northeast with it, and I'll be just fine with it.
Well,
I didn't lose anything in New York I want to go find.
No. So did you get Faranjal hooked back up there?
Yep. Give me 1 second. I got to move the mic again.
Nature of the European project, which is genuine anti-Americanism. Trump is motivated by protecting the United States of America from Islamic terrorism, whereas what has happened in this room and in governments around Europe is you have welcomed these people into your own homes. But can we please, just for a moment, look at the facts? Amongst all the hyperbole and the hysteria, all that Donald Trump has done is taken 7 countries that were identified by President Obama as posing a risk to the USA. Obama already had put in place extreme vetting. What Trump has done is for 90 days to say, let's examine that vetting and see whether it's good enough. But I want to ask you, Mr. Verhofstadt, and all the others, with your faux outrage today, where were you when Obama in 2011 banned any Iraqi from going into the country for 6 months? Why do I hear no criticism in this chamber or from the Commission of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain and others who refuse to take a single, not one, refugee or displaced person from Syria? And how can it be that on Holocaust Day, last Friday, not a single one of you criticized the 16 countries in the world that ban Israeli Jews from even going to their country on holiday? What is this hypocrisy? So perhaps what we need to do, Mr. President, and through you to the members, perhaps what we need to do is to be a little bit more constructive. All of us here say we're Democrats. Well, here's a chance to prove it. Let us invite President Trump to come here to this European Parliament. I'm sure as Democrats you'd all agree what we need to do is to have an open dialogue with the newly elected, most powerful man in the world. And if you throw that rejection back in my face, then you prove yourself to be the anti-democratic zealots that I always thought you were.
Wow. Did he just shoot them all down or what?
He was a little hardcore there, wasn't he?
Wow. Where's, like I said before, where's our Faranjas? We don't have anyone in the Senate. We don't have anyone in the House talking like that. Just putting it out on the line and saying, you guys, okay, I'm going to put it in the vernacular of the world here and just go, you guys suck. And man, he put it, and that's what he told him. He just went and blasted him and said, you guys suck. You're all a bunch of anti-democratic zealots. Man, I mean, we're not a Democrat. We're not democratically. We don't have democratic elections. We all know that. But, it's just incredible. I mean, the big thing was there was no criticism of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain. How many refugees are those countries taking? We don't have his media file, but it's going to be 0.0. So, they aren't taking anybody. Obama banned Iraqis from coming into this into our union. There wasn't any outrage then, but all of a sudden there's this. And you really couldn't hear it. He said this faux. He really is calling these guys out big time. He said this faux criticism, this faux. They're a faux upset is what it really comes down to. And
if you're a millennial, faux means fake.
Okay,
I got to throw that out there because millennials don't know these old-fashioned words because we're taught thanks is THX instead of THANKS.
Oh, LOL. So, it's this. This guy's incredible. And then he goes on to say, okay, so you guys are upset. Well, let's invite Trump here and we'll talk to him. Hey, maybe if you guys talk to him, call it diplomacy, you might actually change his mind. No, you're not gonna. But that's what he's saying. Bring him over here. Let's talk to him. Let's get his side of it, and let's come to a consensus. Well, no, what you couldn't hear, folks, is because the media file is not running. In the background, there's all these no, all their British accents and all the other. I mean, it was funny. I mean, these guys, they're clowns. It was funny. I just loved the clip. I'm just looking for our Farage. I don't know where he is. I guess Trump is about as close as we're going to get to a Farage because he really does just say what he thinks. And so maybe we do have our Farage, and maybe he's a president over here. I don't know. But this was a great cut. I had to bring it up and run it here tonight because it was just incredible to hear somebody call these elites out about the way they rigged the whole thing, that only unelected commissioners can propose legislation over there. The fact that there's all these countries that aren't taking them, that are Muslim countries, aren't even taking the Muslims into their own countries. They won't bring Trump over there to talk to him. And he just called him out at the end. They called him anti-democratic zealots. Exactly what they are. And that's what we have over here today, is these people that are just zealots for the god of state.
I'm not up on British politics, but I'm just going to air this out here, and maybe somebody over there will tell the Queen this. But the last I checked, the Queen can override Parliament and the people, right? I mean, I might be wrong. I'm not, like I said, I'm not up on British.
I'm not policy either, but I'm pretty sure that the Queen, the royal family over there, is now really, as I understand it, and again, I'm not an expert either, is a figurehead. I don't believe that they have a veto power over law, the legislative processes anymore. If someone's out there that knows, in our chats, shoot us off a message in our chats. That way, we'll know the answer. We can get that right. But I'm pretty sure they don't have a veto any longer.
Yeah, because I was thinking, with 17 million people saying they wanted to leave the European Union and the Parliament dragging their feet on it, it would be incumbent on the Queen to just pick up the phone and call Theresa May and go, I can't do a British Queen impression, but be like, the people have voted, get it done now, or I'll dissolve Parliament and we'll elect a new Parliament. Because I think she still has the power to dissolve Parliament. I don't think that was ever taken away, but they just haven't ever used it, I believe, in the last 200 some years.
Yeah, I honestly, I couldn't even begin to tell you that. I have no idea what their system is about that.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. I mean, if the peoples have spoken, Parliament dragging its feet, if the Queen has the people's interest at heart and has the power, it's incumbent on her to go, yeah, we're just going to do this and we're done. And this is a monarchy and you all need to learn your place. But, that's me, and I'm kind of a dictator anyway. So I'm not a public official.
You're listening to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where renegade thinking is always outside the box. And we've been talking about Nigel Farage. I love the guy. I mean,
he's awesome.
He's awesome. He really is. And we said the same thing at the same time. He is. He's just plain awesome.
We're gonna have to make an intro for him whenever we play his clips.
Oh yeah. Maybe, I don't know. That might be like the Terminator. Something that has to do. Because he's just like. Or maybe I'll be Bach. I don't know. We'll have to figure something out, because he's like he's like nuclear. He just like dropped the nuclear bomb on him in there and just said, yeah, you guys, you're clowns.
He sounds like me or you in a legislative body just telling everybody off. That's what he sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, see, but he's so much nicer than me. See, I would get all. I would get all.
This is family-friendly radio now, Jeff.
No. I'll keep it clean, but I get all wound up and I tell him where to go in nice terms. Go to Hades, old boy. That he's. I'm LOLing here. So anyway,
you're a prison guard and I'm a trucker. Trust me, it doesn't take much to send us over the edge.
So shoot on your rant for tonight, or do you want to just take a quick break?
Yeah, we'll take a quick break, and then I'll come in and I'll do my rant, and we can talk about that for the rest of the show. Or we can talk about what in the world happened to the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, how do you blow a 21-point lead? But anyway, this isn't sports radio officially yet, so we'll play this break and we'll come back.
Daniel?
What?
BRB.
Be right back. Leave the joking to the professionals, Jeff.
Washington, D.C. will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
When you absolutely have to deal with the scum and villainy in Washington, D.C., be cautious and listen to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where renegade thinking is always outside of the box.
Oh, well, welcome back. Apologies again for the audio files not working. That's because the game ran long and I got in a hurry and we didn't do our normal mic check. But anyway, on to my rant for the night. Jeff, am I too loud here? Or am I blowing speakers off or something?
Yeah, you're a little bit on the high side. Touch your game back just a touch bit.
Okay, how's that?
Much better. Thanks.
Okay. I didn't want to blow your eardrums off. Because I'm probably going to do some yelling. If not, I'll be surprised. All right. The rant for tonight is abortion is murder. Get over it. It's murder. I don't care why, how, or when. It's murder. Okay. I have heard and watched the news reports from all the marches that happened over the last week. Now, this was written about a week ago, but I got sick, had a sinus infection, and obviously I couldn't look straight. So just imagine it was last week. While I have always held to the position that abortion is murder, I still have a rough time understanding why women think they should have the right to kill a baby. While the Vietnam War was before my time, I still watch some of the old footage of people calling our soldiers baby killers and how that was such a horrible thing. Now I see them rioting for their right to murder. Oh, how far the mighty have fallen. Not that we were ever really that mighty morally to start with, but at least we had the perceived moral high ground on many issues, sad as it may be. I even heard that one of the women at the Crazies March, yes, I call them Crazies March because they got a little crazy. I mean, did you see what they were wearing? Also known as the Women's March for their right to murder, said that if Mary had just had an abortion when she was pregnant with Christ, that we wouldn't have these problems today. I was angry when I first heard the comment, but then upon reflection, all I could do is laugh at her ignorance. I mean, do you really think about this woman actually believes herself higher than God? There is an infamous story in the Bible about one lifting himself above God, and we now know him as Satan. Satan decided he was going to rule heaven above God and attempted to place himself in God's stead. Needless to say, Satan, or Lucifer as he was called then, was thrown out of heaven and condemned to hell for his actions. Now, this woman has been so deceived by Satan and his demons that she honestly thinks that Mary could have killed Christ. I fear for her soul because hell was never made for us. It was only made for Satan and his demons. But if she doesn't repent, she will be sent there for all eternity. Even if Mary had tried, do you really think that God would have let her abort the Christ child? I mean, really, think about that one for a minute. Let it sink in. There is a being higher than us, that's more powerful than us, and that we draw our life's breath from. Now that I can catch my breath. Now, they issued death threats to a legislator in Texas because he wants to codify murder as murder and prosecute all the guilty parties. They truly are the cult of death, and we must treat them like a cult. There has been many downfalls with our strategy up to this point, though. We got suckered into fighting this through the courts when we should have marched like MLK did in the 1960s to demand a change to civil rights. We as Christians have gotten way too fat, lazy, and soft. We have become wealthy Americans and have forgotten that our only allegiance is to Christ. We are called out. Christian means little Christ, or at least we are supposed to be. Yet, when it comes to sacrificing, we get weak in the knees and tumble around like a tumbleweed driven by the wind. We are worried more about what our friends think than we are about what our God thinks. The time has come for Christians to demand that their state treat murder as murder. The power lies in the states to fix this. We have all the tools necessary. We have interposition, nullification, and secession. We also have armed revolt, but I'm not going to go there because we have legal means necessary to do this. We will be judged one day by God for not using these tools available to us. We have sat idly while babies have been ripped apart, burnt, and gassed, all while claiming we could never be like Nazi Germany, communist Russia, or Red China. Yet we do all the things that they have done. Does it help your conscience at night that you donate money to some organization to fight a fight we should all be fighting? An organization that if they ever did what they said they would have no reason to get your money anymore? Do you really see the problem in this? What benefits them in actually ending abortion? They don't want to end abortion. They want to regulate abortion. They want to regulate murder. Over 58 million babies have been killed while we sit idle. Is your conscience quieted when you swear allegiance to the flag or sing an anthem? Is your conscience quieted while your kids go off to a public indoctrination center, otherwise known as a public school? Or is your conscience quieted when you sit in your pews and you hear some flowery sermon by a preacher? I'm not a preacher. I'm going to tell you like it is. Abortion is murder. It's time for it to end. And if a mother has an abortion, she needs to go to jail. Okay, I'm done for now. Oh, the end. Wake up. We can end this tomorrow, and we should.
All right. Is it safe to come out?
Oh, I need the air raid siren. We got to get that from Mike so I got to rig that.
We'll come up with something. So anyway, I totally agree. First off, let's just start there. And our good friend Mark Kreslins is working really hard in Oklahoma to do just that. They're working on legislation to make it a murder charge to perform an abortion in Oklahoma. We really need to follow his lead. He's really challenging people on his website and in Oklahoma to take a stand. And you're right, as the Christian community, whether it's Catholic or Protestant, it makes no difference. We've really fallen down on the job, and we don't get out and do what we need to do. We're just, let's wait for Donald Trump to appoint a new lawyer in a black dress, and maybe, just maybe, they'll overturn Roe v. Wade. Well, we've been waiting now for how many decades?
Yeah, but
it's time to step up and get involved and work to end it.
Mark Kreslin says on the Mark Kreslin show. The Jennifer Moore show. Inside joke, people. You really need to listen to Mark Kreslin show. It's a really good show. I've been alive for 32 years. Abortion was legal before I was born. But how long have we heard that the only way to fix this is an all 50 state solution? We have to get a Supreme Court justice that's going to overturn it. When the Supreme Court has, to my knowledge, never overturned an existing statute. They may word it differently, but they almost never overturn an existing statute. The process is actually called stare decisis. If they were to go back and say Roe v. Wade is wrong, or the decision that the court reached on Roe v. Wade was wrong, and overturn it, that's what, how long has that been in? 40, 45 years now?
It's about there, somewhere in that neighborhood.
If they do that, that would mean all the decisions 45 plus years could be wrong, and it would literally throw the court into convulsions of trying to pick out which Supreme Court made the right decision and which Supreme Court made the wrong decision. It also means if, say, we have the opposite of Donald Trump right now and a liberal, and they get in there, they could actually rule against was it Heller and McDouglas? I think it was Heller and McDouglas dealing with firearms, and actually say we don't have a right to that. So this is what's really bad about this whole situation. The states need to step up. The states can call for a constitutional convention tomorrow. There is no process in which the Speaker of the House or the President or the Supreme Court get to say anything about it. If 32 states call for a convention, the convention is called. All the Speaker does is say that a Constitution convention or a federal convention has been called by the states. The states are electing delegates. It'll be held X. The Congress gets no other say in the matter. Then the states could write legislation that says, or they could write an amendment that says the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction in this. But see, here's the other bad part. The Congress itself could rule tomorrow and restrict the judiciary from ever hearing another case on this subject. Or it could just flat out say the Supreme Court got it wrong and we're sending it back to the states. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Yeah. Folks, you're listening to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where renegade thinking is always outside the box. And what you were thinking of was McDonald versus Chicago, and the other one was Heller
versus DC or something like that.
District of Columbia versus Heller. They could revisit those if they had a liberal person come on. Yeah. So, that's stare decisis. That's just another show, but it really comes down to the fact, and it really, one thing I was thinking about while you're talking about that was this whole marijuana issue. Look how few states have already legalized marijuana, and look at the monkey wrench it's created in the so-called federal government, the national government. They want to make all drugs their purview, and now the states are saying, well, no, you know what? We're going to legalize this, and now they're in a quandary. What are they going to do? Are they going to send the 101st Airborne to force them to obey all the federal drug laws? I don't know. So, you see where I'm going with that. Is it we really don't. The court is in a quandary at this point, and I don't see how they're going to get themselves out of it, even if they put a guy that's pro-life, and this one that Trump's put in or put up for the position, Scalia's seat. There's some writings out there that suggest that he would probably be pro-choice or pro-life. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with it, but I don't see them overturning it. They don't. You're right. They've not done it in the past. I don't see them doing it now.
We'll see. The other bad part about this whole situation is, what party was it that's been running on this for 40 some years, and yet they've had the majorities in all three houses at least 3 times in my lifetime, and yet they've done nothing? Absolutely not. The closest we got was, I believe it was Santorum's bill that banned partial birth abortion. That was as close as we got. And we basically see the states do the whole whatever. We're California. We ain't gonna do that.
So this is why I think where Mark's heading with this is right. And hopefully once they pass it, it's signed. I don't think that their governor is going to sign it. I think she's going to cave, just like they did on the last time that they put this up here. They put out a good piece of legislation. It was passed through both their legislatures. Went to the governor. She vetoed it, and it pretty much died there. And I think that's what's going to happen again. I think she'll punt it down the road because she's not got the guts to stand up to the courts. And that's where the fight's really got to go. Is we got to get states to, number one, pass these. We got to get governors in that to have the guts to stand up to the national government and tell them where to go, tell them to kiss off. We're not obeying it. I don't know if the validity of it, and I've never been able to really find it, but evidently I think it was Georgia. They told, okay, you made your ruling. If you send anyone down here, we'll hang your federal officers by the neck if they try to enforce it. I've never been able to find it, but I've heard that story told so many times. I don't know if it's just American folklore now, but that's got to be the response. That if they're going to send their federal agents there to enforce these things, well, they get here, we'll arrest them, we'll put them in our prisons.
That was Georgia, I think, in early 1800s.
Yeah, it was Georgia. I know it was Georgia, but I've just never really been able to verify it. I've heard it so many times from so many different people and read it so many times, but I've never really seen the source material on it. And maybe our friend Suzanne, the lawyer, who's out there hopefully listening, maybe she can fill us in on what that was. But anyway, we have to have some states that actually have some guts and stand up to the national government, because we don't have a federal government. I mean, let's be honest, folks. It's not been federal for over 100 years. It's been a national government. As a matter of fact, it's been longer than that. It became a national government when Lincoln subjugated the South, because it was nothing but a subjugation. They were legal states, countries that decided they weren't going to be part of the Union. If they could accede, I'll speak English, to the Constitution, that means they can secede from the Constitution. They acceded, they seceded, and Clinton subjugated.
Well, you'd still come back to the point that even if Rhode Island, New York, and Virginia had not put in the declarations about the whole, if at any time you don't follow the Constitution, we're going to pull out. Nothing in the Constitution said they were ever bound to stay in the Constitution. So
no, there's no perpetual union. It's not written in there.
It's not. And there's nothing in there saying they have to stay. There's nothing in there saying they can secede, because it was known as the 9th and 10th Amendment would have covered this to begin with. But even if it wasn't, it was just declared as a right. It wasn't given to the federal government. So therefore the states retained the right to just say, yeah, we're out. Goodbye. See ya.
Well, the other night, our friend Suzanne and I, we were making friends on this one thread in Facebook. and I'll just say his first name because there's millions of them. There was a guy named Mike, and he was telling us how there's no way we can secede now. The South lost, and that ended secession. There's no such thing as secession now. We can't do it. Tough luck. Sorry about your luck. And I'm like, okay, because he's subjugated, it does not mean that a tyrant can take away our natural right to self-determination. I don't care what happened. Okay, so the South lost. Yes, Lincoln had more guns, was able to build more ships, and able to subjugate the South. But that doesn't change my natural right. God gave me that right. Lincoln can't take it from me. And I told him, here's a little assignment. Read the Declaration of Independence, because that's exactly what Jefferson said. We have a natural born right to decide for ourselves that, okay, this government's not working. It's time for us to pick up our tiddlywinks and move on and make our own new government. And that's what he did. And that's what we should do. But, this whole brainwashing that it's all settled because of the Civil War, poppycock. So I don't know how we got to secession off of that.
Well,
Man,
we
really
did kind of start the
thing.
show with it when we got into the whole Farage thing. I mean,
yes,
the easiest way to solve these problems is for Pennsylvania to solve its problem. California solves its problem, and stop relying on some bureaucrat. Because, like you were saying with over in the EU apparently, according to Farage, only the select committees are, I don't know, what did he call them? The bureaucrats?
Well, hold on a second. Let me get my unelected commissioners, he called them.
Okay, only the commissioners can propose laws. Okay, over here in the States, we're worse. We're really worse. We have a congressman and a senator that can propose laws, or we have this little known agency called the DOT. And the DOT can pass a regulation. Guess what? If you don't follow the regulation, do you think it matters if your congressman and senator voted on it? No. They will pull your license. They will fine you. They will drag your okay, trucker's coming at me. They will drag you in front of a judge. They'll have the judge tell you you will pay it or you will go to jail. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if all legislative powers were only vested in a Congress of the United States, how come the DOT has such authority?
Yeah, or an EPA. Oh, you built a pond on your property? You don't own that. That's ours. Well, $75,000 a day you owe us because you built a pond. Yeah, pay up, baby.
Gotta love the pond.
Yep. Well. So I don't know. We want to take a break. What do you want to do here, Daniel? You're listening to Renegade Ramblers Radio, folks. Where Renegade thinking is always outside the box. We are having some technical difficulties, so the breaks and stuff are harder to get in tonight. So I don't know if we want to take a break or what you want to do here.
We're actually at our hour mark.
Okay.
We're like,
I mean, we really gone on. The only other thing I had tonight, and I'm going to touch on it just 2 seconds, is those Berkeley riots. It's just more of the same. The Berkeley administration said, we condemn in the strongest possible terms the violence and unlawful behavior. Oh, yeah, it's unlawful. But here's the best part of this CNN story. No arrests were made throughout the night. Oh, my gosh. I was nice there and used the Lord's name in vain. They were doing these unlawful things. No arrests were made throughout the night.
Am I wrong?
We are screwed.
When this stuff happened in the 1960s, now, granted, I mean, I mentioned it in a good light earlier, but when there was riots going on and the race wars were, quote, going on, didn't the governors call in the National Guard to restore order?
Yeah, see, I don't know. I'm not really a good historian on the civil rights era, but I don't think they brought them out because I think they a lot of places they call them out to put down the peaceful protests. And in the beginning of this thing they call them protests, and man, that's the wrong term. These aren't protests. And I saw another story somewhere about don't call these protests because they're not protests. They're riots. It's lawlessness. And here at Berkeley, they made no arrests. Folks, Daniel, if you could play music to take us out, play music and take us out because I have veins coming out of my head, and I think I'm gonna my head just blew up again. All right, I'm done ranting. Oh, that's right. I'm rambling, not ranting. You're ranting.
Oh, let's see. Guess we'll just
Anyway,
play.
good night, Daniel.
All right. Good night, Jeff.
Good night, folks. Thanks for listening tonight. Appreciate it. We'll get it all fixed up next week.
I am Locutus, a boy.